We're now at the stage of the meeting where we're going to hear some really good speakers. The first speaker today will be Delisa, and she will be giving her level 5, which is the last level in her pathways. And I'm really looking forward to hearing her give a speech on how to remember people's names. Delisa.
Thank you, everyone. It's so great to be here and to spontaneously sign up for a speech. This is also a speech I'm going to practice in the town I live in. So thank you for being my first audience. I don't remember names, but I'm not forgetful. Let me tell you a few stories. When my daughter was 2 years old, she went to a granny nanny during the day while I worked. And this nanny was named Darlene. Her Darlene Deemert and her husband Don had 5 children. They were all grown. There was Donna, Diane, Dwayne, Dean, and David. All D's. And I can remember which one drove which car, but I didn't want to be rude when I dropped off my daughter. So I would say to Molly, hey, which one of those boys drives that Corvette? And she'd say, that's David. She's 2 years old. I can't remember, but she remembers. Or I'd say, ooh, what's the daughter's name who has the van and all those kids? That's Donna. So I'd walk in there as if I remembered their names and say, hello, Donna. How are you today? Here's Molly. See you in a few hours. I thought, well, I'm sure there's a way to remember names. I don't know why I can't, and my 2-year-old can. But one day she said to me, Molly said, Mommy, what's that kid's name that lives next door? It reminds me of Candy. Oh, yeah, his name is Nandy. And I realized that she made a connection in her mind to remember names. And at the same time, I took a class on how to remember names. The guy that told us how to do it had memorized every name, phone number, and address in one page of the Seattle phone book. Some of you are too young to remember phone books, but we used to get a phone book every year, multiple pages. There were hundreds of people on this page. And he invited people in the audience to just pick any name, and he said what their phone number was and what their address was. He had memorized that entire page overnight. And he taught us how to remember names. He said, when you meet someone, say hello, someone. What an interesting name, someone. And in your mind, you're thinking, I'm connecting this, I'm making a picture like the Nandy Candy thing. And then you say, so great to meet you, someone. And that way, their name is in your memory. So I thought, now, Molly's older now. She's playing soccer. And I'm like, what's that kid's name? What's their parents' name? She's like, God, Mom, really? She made me a set of flashcards with the pictures of the kid, the number of their jersey, and the name of the kid and each of their parents. And I had them on a little ring, the 3x5 cards that you could put on a ring, like if you're studying for college. I kept them in my pocket. But sadly, it was too much work to look up the name and yell the kid, like, good job. I was still confused. But one day, after I'd taken that class, I thought, okay, cool. I'm going to remember what's that mom's name? I said to Molly. She goes, Amy Down. I said, okay, Amy Down, Amy Down, Amy Down, Amy Down, Amy Down. Okay, I can imagine an arrow pointing down in her bun because she wore her hair up in a bun. Cool. I was so proud of myself. Hey, Amy, how's it going? The next week, I saw the same parent as we drove up to soccer, and I said, there's Amy Arrow. Her name's not Amy Arrow, Mom. Her name is Amy Down. I'm like, yeah, arrow pointing down. Okay, that wasn't ideal. Many years ago, at that same time, I was managing a real estate office, 45 people, 7 staff. And I thought, this is going to be tragic. How am I going to remember 45 agents' names and all the staff? So I said at one of my first meetings, please remind me what your name is for the first 6 months. Ha ha. And okay, so people did. They weren't too concerned about it. A few months in, I started to remember names. But in the first couple of weeks, there were two agents who had their office right next to mine, John and Dave. And every day they would introduce themselves, shake my hand, and say their name. And one day, one of them says to me, "Hi, I'm John." I said, "Hey, John." And then I went, "Wait, aren't you Dave?" And he said, "We have been effing with you for 2 weeks. Every day we switch names." I was so embarrassed. Also, that was a pretty funny joke for someone who said, "Please remind me what your name is." So if I ever see you in town or on the Zoom, I can see what your name is, but not if you're in the room. And I don't introduce the friend I'm with to you. It's either this. I can't remember suddenly my friend's name, or I can't remember your name, and I'm just going to say hi. But you know what I do remember? I remember people's stories. People tell me things, and I remember the stories they tell me, and maybe not even their name. Like for example, I remembered that Frank was working on a speech for a wedding that was really important to him. And I remember that Tiny recently lost her mom right after. God bless you, dear. Right after she did a beautiful speech about how she loved her mom and how she was caring for her. So if I see you around town, I'll remember your story, but I may not remember your name. And remember this, you're not your name. You're not even your story, but I see you.